Right then, so here we have my second ever dry adventure, which is taking place at Colchester Zoo. Colchester Zoo is basically the dry warehouse by Iceland, since over half the toilets here contain IKK 2030s, which I believe replaced Dysons over time. There were more Mitsubishis here than I originally anticipated though, including an 8-year-old one which looks, sounds and even smells brand new. There's also an absolute shed load of old beasts and automatic doors here, since they only seem to replace them when they fail, unlike many places. I would say that we first go to the toilets in the car park, however these were the toilets which I filmed last since I didn't have time to on the way in. These toilets were built when the entrance area was reconstructed in 2019, meaning the dryers are of course IKK 2030s. There are only 3 toilets in this set, one of which is located in the baby room, which isn't enough for demand. I filmed in the baby room since there was a queue and I was the only one who thought to look for a toilet in there. This set is incorrectly marked as not containing baby changing on all of the maps, when this video very much proves otherwise. And now we move through the entrance and into the main zoo, and to a fairly old and worn set of toilets attached to the old admissions building, which is now the gift shop. Given the condition these toilets are in, I'm quite surprised that they didn't get refurbished during the redevelopment of the attached building. As they didn't get refurbished, it does mean that there's some more interesting dryers here though. There's a total of 4 accessible toilets in this set, but one was in the female toilets, leaving 3 I could film. First, we go to the left-hand unisex accessible, which has a useless piece of crap with no stickers or branding. The air was incredibly weak, the outlet was very small and the heat was intermittent. Even an air dry Quantum is more useful than this thing. Now to the right-hand unisex accessible, which has some old knackered PHS thing. I have a feeling this hasn't run for quite a while, since it took forever to start up the first time, but was much quicker the second time off camera. I have no idea if this replaced the crap thing next door or vice versa. Since it says PHS on it, it's obviously 1,000 times more sacred than if it said Vent Axia on it. Now into the male toilets, where there's an accessible toilet contained within them. This one has an IKK2901 branded as Nulek, which is far better than the other two crap dryers in the other toilets, although less interesting. The main area of the male toilet still has an older Mitsubishi Jet Towel Slim, which looks like hasn't been cleaned for a long time.
It's called, we're having animal experience, and Daddy's had one with the tigers. Obviously you don't go in with the tigers, but you get very close to them.
Will they bite you?
Oh, no, don't.
Do you have weight on a stick and then like put it
Well,
in?
what they did was they give us really long tweezers, almost as long as their forearm. Or doing more you use that type of foot.
I did check after two baby rooms in this set, however there was just a high lab modular blue roll dispenser. Now to the toilets outside of Jungle Tumble and into the accessible one. This isn't a proper set of toilets, but instead one of two porta cabins which have been plumbed in to be used as semi-permanent sets, with some wooden panelling added externally for decoration. The dryers here were SM48s, however they were the first ones I've used which have PHS Warner Howard branding. Judging by the map, there's another set of toilets inside Jungle Tumble, however you require a ticket to get in, so I couldn't film them. There's also a small error regarding the baby changing icons here, since the external set is marked as only having female baby changing when it's a unisex room, which likely makes it that the internal Jungle Tumble toilets have female only baby changing and not unisex like marked. Now we move on to the toilets inside the Penguini's restaurant and into the accessible / baby changing toilet, which has a brand new IKK 2030. This dryer was so new that I even got to remove the protective plastic from the LED display. I didn't pay much attention to the area around the dryer whilst filming, but upon closely examining the video, I've came to the conclusion that this likely replaced another hands-in. I believe it may have been a Dyson, since power looks to have previously been ran in on the top right, which I've seen in some hands-in Dysons before. The male toilets had an identical AK 2030 of the same build date, however I didn't pay any attention to the surroundings. Now to the other set of porta cabin toilets, which are near heart of the Amazon. Just like the other porta cabin set, these have PHS Warner Howard SM48s. These toilets weren't marked on the app, however they were on the physical map and the maps printed on displays around the zoo. I noticed that the accessible toilet in this set has the dryer mounted far higher than the other porta cabin set. Now down through a tunnel and into the Jangs Forest, which might actually be the best set of toilets for dryers here. First into the left hand unisex toilet, which has a pre-refreshed Mitsubishi Jet House Slim that's on max power. Next to the right hand unisex toilet, which is technically the middle toilet, is home to a post-refresh Mitsubishi Jet House Slim /IO1, which is also on max power. I really could notice the tower difference between using this and the previous dryer. I didn't get the sticker on this since I didn't fancy moving a sanitary bin to reach it. Finally, into the unisex/accessible /baby changing toilet, which has another post-refresh Slim /IO1, however this one appears to be on low power. This dryer is in better condition than the last two, however the cover for the water pod is missing. Good job they get emptied regularly, otherwise there could be issues with the dryer sucking in water, which wouldn't at all be good for the motor. I have a feeling this may have been the last Mitsubishi to be installed in this zoo, which is a bit of a shame really. Now to the unisex/accessible/baby changing /one toilet isn't enough in Bears of Rising Sun, which has a Dyson Mark II so battered that it makes the Shell Fakenham H2O2s look like they're in good condition. One of the top sensor pieces is completely missing and has been filled in, meaning the dryer won't stop running until it's timed out, putting unnecessary wear on the motor. I'm amazed this hasn't been replaced with an AK-2030 yet. Now we move along to the Meerkat hangout toilets, and first into the accessible toilet, which contains another IKK2901. I have absolutely no idea what this replaced, and the male toilets didn't give any hints either, since they just had another AK2901. I stupidly didn't check the baby room. Next to the changing places toilet in this set, which arguably has the best dryer in the whole zoo. The dryer in here is a September 2015 post-refresh Mitsubishi Jet Towel Slim/IO1 on high power, which likely makes it one of the first post-refresh units. As this is a changing places toilet, it hardly gets any use, and the small amount of people who use it most likely dry their hands with the blue roll which is in here. Because of this dryer is in completely mint condition, with it even still having that new motor smell when you run it. There's a small scrape on the front though. This toilet is an absolute joke for changing places, as with the changing bench folding down, it would be smaller than many of the accessible toilets I've seen. The next toilets we move on to are at Lion Rock and into the accessible one. This set was marked as being closed on the app, and it still is at the time of writing this script. However, the toilets are very much open. The dryers in this set are just more AK2030s. Opposite this set of toilets, there was a pair of AK2030s as part of a hand washing station with matching build dates. Video of this hand washing station from July 2022 shows there was previously a combo of an AK2030 and either a Dyson DB or Dyson Mark II. Due to the matching build dates of the current dryers, the other AK2030 must have been replaced at the same time as the Dyson, which is quite a waste if the other AK2030 was likely still working. Next to Koi Niwa, where all the fish are, and to the singular unisex/accessible baby change room where there's a Dyson DB. This dryer looks like it's not been cleaned since it was put in, which would explain why so many Dyson replacements have occurred in the other toilets here. There's also a hand washing station directly outside this toilet, which has another DB. In the restaurant behind the Lion Rock toilets, there's a sign from there that sends you on a bit of a rat run to the singular toilet rather than to the much closer full set at Lion Rock. On the way to the next set of toilets, we passed the last hand washing station that contains hand dryers. This one has some AK2901s, which very recently replaced some AK2030s. I wonder if this has taught them to not put hands in dryers outside. Now to the toilets at Remy Brown and into the accessible one. These appear to have had a minor refurb from a few years ago, with the dryers of course being AK2030s. I didn't check any other toilets in the set since I just predicted more AK2030s due to the refurbishment, although thinking back it probably would have been worth a peek. Next to the water hole, and firstly into the accessible toilet, which has a pre-refresh Mitsubishi Jet House Slim. However, all of the Mitsubishi brand on the top is missing. The male toilets here make no sense, since there's just 2 urinals, a sink, an AK2030 and nothing else. Not even a single cubicle. The room looks like it's lockable from the outside, since there's a vacant engaged indicator, but inside there's no lock. Still in the waterhole toilets, we now go to the baby changing room, where there's yet another AK2030. Whilst this is signposted as a baby changing room, it's basically just another accessible toilet with a large freestanding baby changing table in it. Whilst waiting for this room, I got a peek into the female toilets, where there was a Converve, an AK2030 and an older Mitsubishi Slim. I can barely remember a Dyson and a Slim in there when I was younger, meaning the AK2030 would have replaced the Dyson. Now to the relatively new accessible toilet at Chimpanzee Lookout, which has the billionth AK 2030 of the day. This was the only one I found which was on high power though. I normally didn't realise how easy it is to access the controls on these until the next day, otherwise I would have turned them all up if I'd known before. I personally found this to be one of the nicest toilets in the zoo. Now on to the toilets by the ice cream parlour and southern kitchen, and into unisex/accessible/baby changing where there's yet another AK 2030. The handle on the toilet in here was so loose that it was nearly impossible to flush it. The pan was dirty when I entered, meaning I ended up having to remove the cistern lid to get it to flush. There's also a unisex toilet here, but that appeared to be out of service, since the door was locked both times I visited this set and the automatic light was off. There's no sign about it though. And now for the final toilet of this adventure, which is a code-locked unisex/accessible/baby change and tucked away at the back of the gift shop, although since the toilet is officially labelled as being in the Outpost Coffee Lounge. I have absolutely no idea why this toilet is code-locked, but I could get into it thanks to the fact that the lock was disabled. There's 2 doors into this toilet, with the lobby between them as to being absolutely tiny. Since this toilet was put in when the entrance was redeveloped, the dryer was of course the 1,403,876,329th AK 2030 of the day. Above this AK 2030 though, there was a sticker calling it an air injection dryer, which I found quite funny. I almost ended up making this a dark video since I couldn't get the automatic lights to wake, but they finally came on after standing in a specific spot by the sink. It was only at this point that I realised you could open the Gojo soap dispensers without a key, since the key slot on the top deceived me. And that just about wraps up this video. I feel that this dry adventure has been far more interesting than my first one, and it's the first dry adventure to be a standalone video since the first one was part of my 1 year video. As per usual, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing, and goodbye.